What if I tell you that the key to changing your life lies not in complex techniques or secret knowledge, but in one simple principle? Long-lived simplicity. Our consciousness and thinking are like invisible hands that direct our attention. This is like a gardener who waters those plants that he pays attention to. They grow faster and become more lush. And what we focus on begins to be attracted to us in the most various forms and manifestations, not always in exactly the same forms as we expect, but in surprisingly similar ones. Let's say a person dreams of financial well-being and constantly thinks about money. First, he may begin to notice more job advertisements, then meet the right people, then receive an unexpected offer. Each coincidence seems random, but altogether they form a clear line to the goal. When these similarities accumulate, whether it be successes, happiness, health, or love, they fold into a complete picture of realization of any of these themes. This is like a mosaic. Each small piece by itself means nothing, but when there are enough of them, suddenly a complete picture appears. Materialization inevitably follows concentration. Let's simplify the formula even more. Concentration equals materialization. And if we bring the simplification to the most basic level, we get the well-known phrase, thoughts materialize. Now it becomes clear how broadly the term thoughts is interpreted in this popular expression. When we say thoughts, we mean not only words in the head, but the entire spectrum of our inner experience. Thoughts is a collective concept that includes perception, logic, thinking, faith, or fear. Imagine this as an orchestra where each instrument is a separate aspect of our consciousness. The violins of perception play the melody of what we see and feel. The wind instruments of logic add structure and rhythm. The percussion of emotions and faith create strength and dynamics. And even fears play their part, sometimes dissonant, but influential. Everything listed is connected with a certain course of reflections. That is, with some thoughts. And all this is essentially attention. But attention is not simply what we think about. This is an active force that, like a searchlight, illuminates certain areas of reality, making them brighter and more significant for us. We all look at the same world, but concentrate on what we see in completely different ways. Let's take a simple example. Two people walk along the same street. One notices every crack in the asphalt, peeling paint on fences, garbage in gutters, and by the end of the walk feels decline and irritation. The other sees the same objects, but his gaze stops on blooming trees, smiles of passers-by, interesting architecture, and returns home in an elevated mood. Focus is not attention itself, but its direction. This is like tuning a radio receiver. You can catch classical music or heavy rock, news or advertising. Everything depends on what wave you tune to. And focus is not always thoughts in the usual understanding. With my attention, I can see a destroyed fence or money bills, but not think about them so that this turns into words pronounced by the inner voice. This is similar to how we perceive music. We do not translate each note into words, but music still affects our mood and state. After all, we are accustomed to consider thoughts precisely the words that sound in our head, that inner monologue that constantly comments on something, analyzes, plans. But attention is much broader than this verbal flow. However, attention can also manifest as direct visual observation, as emotional response, as intuitive understanding. Here is a vivid example. If every day on the way to work you see, with your own eyes, long queues at the employment service, dilapidated houses, people with dejected faces, then these are exactly the images you feed with the power of your attention. And if your path passes by successful offices where people confidently enter and exit, by beautiful shop windows and cafes where people satisfied with life gather, then you nourish completely different images. And in exactly the same way, if you constantly observe your modest earnings, count small change in your wallet, look at empty refrigerator shelves, then in this way you feed with energy precisely these pictures of lack. But if your gaze regularly stops on what good you already have, on growth opportunities, on examples of others' success, then you nourish images of abundance. Such observations of pleasant material values work more effectively than detailed fantasizing. Why does this happen? Because real visual images are perceived by our brain as more reliable than invented pictures. When you see a beautiful car in a parking lot, your subconscious records, "Such cars exist in my reality. They are available." When you simply fantasize about a dream car, the subconscious may relate to this skeptically. This is just fantasy. Your system of consciousness, perception, logic of thinking work like complex filters that determine which thoughts are destined to materialize and which remain only thoughts. This is like a security system in a building. It lets through only those who meet certain access criteria. Only what resonates with your personal settings will happen. Each of us has our own deep beliefs about what is possible and what is not, about what we are worthy of and what we do not deserve. These beliefs work like invisible boundaries of our reality. But remember the main thing. You will achieve a better result if you change what you observe day by day with your own eyes. This does not mean that you need to move to another district or drastically change your lifestyle. It is enough to begin consciously directing your gaze. You walk along the street. Stop attention on beautiful houses, not on ruins. You enter a store. Look at the abundance of goods, not at their prices. You meet people. Notice their smiles and successes, not problems and shortcomings. The inner is always more important than the outer. Cars, apartments, all this are secondary desires. They are only a reflection of what happens inside us. If a person internally feels unsuccessful, then even an expensive car will not make him truly happy. And if he has found inner confidence and harmony, then even modest surroundings will not prevent him from radiating success and attracting opportunities. You do not need to search for your other half. You need to become the person whom this half is already searching for. You need to cope with your fears, not materialize hopeless comfort zones for yourself. Work on yourself is the main goal. Improve yourself so that in the end you are comfortable with yourself. This is the real magic of materialization, not in chasing the external, but in transformation of the inner world. After all, when you change from within, the world around inevitably begins to change together with you. What thoughts did this conversation evoke in you? Share your questions and wishes in the comments. I will definitely answer each one. And subscription will give you the opportunity to receive new information and become a participant in this amazing process of self-knowledge.